Welcome to the Youth at Work Talking Safety curriculum. In this series, we will introduce students to the topic of young worker safety. We will find out how much students know about workplace health and safety and workers' rights. We will discuss hazards teens may encounter in the workplace. And finally, we will describe the goals of the Talking Safety curriculum. Many teens have jobs, and all types of workplaces have hazards. Work-related injuries and illnesses are predictable and can be prevented. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to describe how workplace injuries can affect a young person's life. You'll understand the relationship between hazards at work and health, explain why it's important to pay attention to workplace safety and health, and you will understand that all workers are at risk for injury on the job. We are specifically going to see examples of ways young workers can get hurt on the job, common health and safety hazards on the job, ways to reduce workplace hazards, emergencies in the workplace and how we should respond when they occur, what to do if you see something at work that could hurt you or make you sick, and what legal rights and responsibilities young people have while at work. Before we proceed, let's first think about our past work experiences. Begin by considering if you ever had a job before. Think about where you worked and what you did at your job. If you had a job, have you ever been hurt at work, or do you know someone who has? Have you ever been uncomfortable with a task that you've been asked to do at work? And have you ever had any health and safety training at work? These are important experiences to share with your transition teacher so that they know how much support you might need. Let's go over 5 job safety facts. First, the law says that your employer is responsible for providing you with a safe and healthy workplace. The law sets limits on how late you can work on a school night if you are under 16. If you are a minor, you are not allowed to drive a car on public streets as part of your job. If you are injured on the job, your employer must pay for your medical care. And every 9 minutes, a teen in the United States is injured on the job. Next, we are going to watch a video that illustrates why it is important to follow work safety regulations at all times. This 4-minute video called Teen Workers, Real Jobs, Real Risks, Mallory Story tells one girl's story of suffering a workplace injury that changed her life and the lives of her family forever. As you watch the video, keep in mind the following questions. What are some factors that contributed to this incident? What could have kept Mallory from being hurt? And how might this incident affect Mallory's future life choices?
At 14, Mallory got her first job at an ice packing business. She wanted to earn money for church camp.
It was August 7th at 7 o'clock at night, and we were bagging ice, and there's a preset amount of how much ice you get in the bag, and I messed up on the bag before, so it came out too much ice in that bag and then not enough in my bag, so I went around the back of the machine to fix it. I was filling it up and the bag slipped out of my hands and it fell into the auger, and I reached in and grabbed it and it pulled both my arms in. I was stuck in there for 55 minutes while the paramedics tried to figure out how to get me out.
Mallory was finally released from the machine and flown to the Regional Trauma Center.
It cut my tendon and it cut my whole arm open, seeing this backside too. and it twisted this one around and broke it in half, and my fingers were at my elbow. So it made all the muscle in my arm die, both of them.
When Mallory got out of the hospital, her entire life was changed.
When I got home, I couldn't do anything for myself. I was just like a newborn, pretty much. My sister had to dress me and help me go to the bathroom, and my mom had to stay home from work to take care of me for, I think, 2 months. And so it was pretty much hard on the whole family.
Since then, Mallory has undergone 6 surgeries and skin grafts to repair bone, muscle, nerves, and blood vessels. After extensive physical therapy, she's learned to use her hands again, but she'll never be quite the same. She can no longer play the flute. It's exhausting to hold a paintbrush for very long, and she's not the athlete she used to be.
She was a very good jet skier, an excellent swimmer, great at sports, and that very much changed for her. She didn't, I wouldn't say that gave up, but her arms gave up for her, and that was very frustrating for her because of the things that she was able to do prior to that.
I can't lift a lot of weight. I'm pretty handicapped in that way. I'm never going to get strength back in my arms. I lost all that muscle, and it won't regrow. So I'm just going to be weak for the rest of my life.
As for Mallory, life has moved on, but she has some advice for younger workers out there.
I would suggest they ask for training and pay attention during the training, not just face off like people would do, you know. I would have, but just actually pay attention. I hope that nobody ever has to go through this, because it's life-changing and it's not for the better.
Now that you have watched Mallory's story, what do you think is an important message that she wanted students to learn from her story? Pause the video now to discuss. Here are some of the possible messages from the video. Mallory would want students to know that teens do get injured at work. Their injuries can have a significant effect on their lives and families. Teens often blame themselves when they are hurt at work. Instead, they should look at the hazards that cause the injuries. Teens should speak up and ask questions if something at work worries them. Employers have the responsibility to make the workplace safe for workers. Teens have rights on the job, and hazards on the job can be reduced and injuries can be prevented. Now let's look at a couple of other examples of teen work injuries that could have been prevented. For each of the following scenarios, try to answer the 3 key questions. Why did this happen? What could have prevented the teen worker from getting hurt? And how might the injury impact their life? In our first example, Jack worked in the kitchen of a fast food restaurant in the evenings, after school, and on weekends. One Friday afternoon, Jack had to work the fryer. At one point, Jack walked across the floor carrying a basket of French fries. He didn't see a slick spot on the tile, and he slipped and fell. He landed on his tailbone and was seriously hurt. Jack has pain that won't go away, and he has trouble walking and sitting. Why do you think this injury happened? What could have prevented Jack from getting hurt? How might this injury impact Jack's daily life? If needed, pause the video to discuss. Antonio, age 17, worked for a neighborhood builder. One day, he was carrying a 12-foot roof rafter along the top of an unfinished house. He backed into an unguarded chimney hole and fell 28 feet to a concrete cellar floor below. He survived, but the fall cracked 3 bones in his back. His injury forced him to spend the next 3 months locked in a clamshell brace from his neck to his hips. Because of his age, he shouldn't have been doing this dangerous work in the first place. Note that federal law prohibits teenagers under 18 from working in dangerous or hazardous jobs such as roofing. Why do you think this injury happened? What could have prevented Antonio from being injured? And how might this injury impact Antonio's daily life? If needed, pause the video to discuss. Angela, age 16, did a lot of homework on the computer and spent time every day emailing and texting her friends. She also worked 3 hours a day after school typing data for a small direct mail company. Angela was paid by piecework. This means she got paid for how much work she did and not the time that she spent doing it. She never took breaks. Her fingers started feeling numb, and in the mornings, she woke up with a burning feeling in her wrist. Angela's doctor said she had severe repetitive stress injury. This happens when you type in an awkward position over and over again. The motion damages muscles, tendons, and nerves. Now she has to wear braces on her wrists and can't work on a computer for more than 15 minutes at a time. Angela's high school has someone take notes for her in class. Why do you think this injury happened? What could have prevented Angela from getting injured? How might this injury impact Angela's daily life? If needed, pause the video to discuss. Lindsay, a high school sophomore, worked the front counter of a small local pizza shop after school and on weekends. One Friday night, she worked alone with Braden, a senior at her school. Braden was often rude to Lindsay, and he would even bully her in front of customers. This night, Lindsay stood up to Braden and told him to stop bullying her. She told him she would tell their boss. Braden yelled at Lindsay and pushed her. Lindsay fell and hit her head on a nearby table. Lindsay managed to get up and run outside. She quickly dialed 911 from her cell phone. The police arrived and arrested Braden. Lindsay had a bump on her head and a lot of other bruises. She still cries a lot and feels sad, and sometimes she can't sleep because of what happened. What could Lindsay's employer have done to stop her abuser? What would you do in this situation? And how might Lindsay's life be affected by this incident? If needed, pause the video to discuss. Now let's break down some teen worker injury statistics. Approximately 1.6 million teens ages 15 through 17 in the United States work. About 50% of 10th graders and 75% of 12th graders have jobs. Many youth are injured on the job. On average, each year, the following things take place. 59,800 workers younger than 18 are sent to the emergency room for job-related injuries, but actual injury statistics are much higher. 37 workers younger than 18 die on the job. And young workers are 2 times more likely to be injured than adult workers. Now, on your own or with a partner, brainstorm a list of typical jobs for teenagers. When you are done creating your short list, we will categorize the jobs that you listed. Pause the video now if needed to write down your list of jobs. Now that you have your list of jobs that are appropriate for teenagers, let's find where they fit best. On this slide is a list of industries of popular jobs. For example, a fast food job is part of the leisure and hospitality sector. Where do the jobs that you thought of land on this slide? Pause the video if needed to discuss. This slide shows where teens are injured on the job. According to this data, you will notice that teens get hurt most often in the industries where the most young people work. Almost 7 of every 10 working teens have jobs in leisure and hospitality and retail, so most injuries happen in these sectors. Let's summarize what we have learned today. Here are 5 important points that you should keep in mind. All workers are at risk of being hurt on the job, and all jobs have hazards, but teens are more likely than any other age group to get hurt or killed at work. If you're a teen, you're twice as likely as an adult to get hurt on the job. In the United States, a teenager is injured on the job every 9 minutes. Injuries are not accidents. Workplace injuries can be predicted and prevented. Most workplace injuries and illnesses are caused by unsafe environments, not human error. And a work injury or illness can change your life forever. You can, and must, learn about risks and hazards at work and take action to protect yourself and others. Thank you for following along with this important lesson. If you have other questions about workplace safety or would like to know where you can find additional lessons, reach out to your school's transition teacher.